In this video, we're going to be learning how to make a low poly rock in Blender. And if you're a beginner, you're going to learn a lot. If you want to follow along with this and make it yourself, there's a link in the description to get my free startup file that has all the materials and the textures set up so that you can easily make this along with me. All you have to do is just double click that blend file and we're ready to go. Let's get started. So we normally start with this cube here, but I'm actually going to delete that. Let's just hit X and hit delete. There we go. And I'm going to hit Shift A, and that's going to bring up our add menu. Now we can add all kinds of meshes and all kinds of crazy stuff. We're going to start with an icosphere, just like this. An icosphere, this is kind of a low poly sphere. In fact, we could even make this lower poly by going down here. If this isn't open, there's like this add icosphere thing down here. You can open this up and turn your subdivisions to 1, and that's going to make a very, very low poly thing. Let's actually make this, let's keep it at 2. I think that's good. So really what we're going to do here is we're just going to kind of morph this to be a rock shape. All right. So to do that, we're going to click on this and then hit Tab to enter edit mode. And I'm going to hit 1 on the keyboard to start messing with the vertices. Here's where we can grab vertices and kind of just move them around like this. I can right click to not move them around, but I'm going to go up here to this little button. This is called our proportional editing button. And so if I click this, now if I grab one of these vertices and I hit G for grab and move like this, it's going to move that vertice, but it's also going to stretch out some other vertices. Isn't that cool? And if I roll up and down on my scroll wheel, I can make this bigger or smaller. So I can really kind of stretch this out. And this is really going to be how we mess with this here. So the first thing I think I'll do is select this bottom part, and let's just G and then Z, and just kind of bring this up to be sort of flat on the bottom like that. So now we have this kind of flat rock on the bottom, and it's perfectly round on the top. Let's just grab some stuff and mess with it here. I'll just grab this and kind of move it around like this, grab this and move it around like this. You can't do this wrong, okay? And so we can kind of grab different pieces and hit G, and let's roll down just to make this a little bit smaller radius here. And I mean, that's honestly, you could make this your rock. I mean, this is really all you need to do, depending on what kind of rock you need. Let's make this just a little bit more interesting here. Let's grab this and I'll make this a little bigger, and we'll just kind of stretch this out and make this a longer rock here. I'll also constrain this to Y. So we're just stretching this out like this. There we go. And now it's kind of this like little loaf of bread thing. This is a great way to make bread too, apparently. But yeah, I think something like that. And then just kind of mess with this a little bit. I also want to show you something really cool. If I grab, let's say, one of these here, and then I go up here to the proportional editing thing, by default, it's on smooth. And what that means is that it's going to move this vertice and then kind of smoothly move the vertices around it to kind of stretch with it. But there are different modes here. And one that I like is random. Now check this out. When I grab random, and now if I hit G and I make this influence really big, look what happens. If I move this, it moves some of them randomly and some of them not. Isn't that cool? So now I can move this and hit Z, and I can just kind of bring some of this up like that. And that just makes it a little bit more, wavy, that kind of thing. Tab, there we go. That's our cool rock. And yeah, I mean, this is a great formula to make any kind of rock, whether you want kind of a big boulder or a little rock. In fact, let's do it again. Let's get crazy here. Let's do Shift A, and we'll make another icosphere. And let's take this, and I'm just going to hit H to hide it. All right. Let's make this one a little bit bigger and kind of tall. All right. So Tab, and I'm going to go back up here and go to Smooth. And let's grab this vertice and then G, Z. And we'll just make this really big like this. Grab this and let's take that influence down, and we'll kind of just make this kind of a bigger, taller sort of thing. There we go. Kind of move the bottom part out, make it a little bit wider. Good. And then let's also flatten that bottom too. The same thing, G, and we'll just bring this up on Z like that. Yes. Okay, so now we have kind of this big rock like that. Let's combine that with this other icosphere. So I'm going to go over here to the outliner and then click on that. And so now we have 2 of these. I think what I'll do is let's put this one over kind of behind it. So I can go up to my little widget here and I can just click on X, and that's going to let me see just down the X axis. And then let's just put these both kind of on the ground on the green line here. And let's just maybe do something like that. And then let's look at this down Y, down Y. I said down Y. There we go. And then GX like this, and we'll just kind of offset this here. So we have two rocks here. I'm going to rotate this rock on Z, RZ, like that. There we go. Now we have 2 rocks. Let's make one more. Things are always nicer when you have 2 of them. And I think I'll just duplicate, or when you have 3 of them, I'll just duplicate this, Shift D, and then hit Shift Z, and that's going to let me move this along the floor, basically. There we go, something like that. And I'm going to rotate this on Z, RZ, and then scale this down. There we go. And again, I'll just look at this kind of from the side, and we'll put these roughly on the ground. Yeah. G, Shift Z. There we go. And so now we have this little rock formation that's perfect for your games. Oh man, that looks so cool. Let's take all of this and kind of center it on the origin here. I'll just kind of do this sort of thing. And let's make this, let's give this a little bit of color. What I like to do is I like to use a material that has a certain kind of texture on it. So if I go over to UV editing, I have this texture that is, this is a pretty common thing with low poly modeling. I've learned this from some other YouTubers and everything, but yeah, this is just a gradient ramp of a bunch of different colors. And so what we can do here is assign this as a texture. And so let's just switch over here to this button, which is our texture preview, our material preview. And we're going to select all of these and make sure that we have our material selected here. And we'll just switch to main material for this one. And then we'll go to copy material to selected right here. And now we have these rainbow rocks, which is almost not really what we want. But here's what we can do. I can select all of these, just hold Shift and then Tab to enter edit mode, and then hit A for all. And then what we can do is we can unwrap these UVs, and there's a bunch of different ways to do this. But for this really simple way of doing it, I'm just going to hit U and then project from view like this. And that's going to be pretty darn close. That's going to be close enough to what we want. And then I'm just going to do some weird stuff here. I'm going to scale this over here. And by the way, I have this little button selected right here. And what this does is this syncs my selection with this window with this window. And what we're going to do is just scale this down to be kind of on one of these strips here. So I'm going to scale it down, and I'll just make it really small. It doesn't matter if it's really small, just because there's so little color variation here that you're never going to see the pixelation or anything. Let's go to something like gray. And I think I'll also scale this on Y, so SY, and I'm just going to make this really tall like that. And now look what happens. Some magic happens over here. Look at this. We have this kind of gray looking rock, but it happens to be a little bit brighter on the top and a little bit darker on the bottom. And so you're just doing a little bit of work with the painting, with the texture, just to give this a little bit of style without having to get very crazy. All right. And so, yeah, there's our rocks. I think they look beautiful. And also in our startup file, we have this render stuff collection, which we can turn on. And let's roll this down and look through our camera like this. And let's grab our spheres here. I'm just holding Shift and then RZ. I'm just going to rotate these on Z. So we have these, maybe scale them down and kind of put these right where we need them to be. And make sure they're right on the floor, GZ. And I'll just make sure those are just barely touching, maybe just barely clipping through the floor a little bit. That's fine. Go back here and I can hit render. Let's render our image. And we have some cool looking low poly rocks. Man, this is so much fun. That's how it's done. Hey, if you want to learn the very best way to model in Blender so you can create anything you want, I have a beginner's course called Blender 101. There is a link in the description. All you have to do is click on that and you can go check it out. Thanks so much for watching. I hope this helps you make some awesome stuff, some awesome 3D goodness in Blender. See you later.